Let's go around.
Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom?
Individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots.
U.S. President Donald Trump and his administration are under fire over their immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Minneapolis could hardly fathom the killing of Renee Good by an ICE agent. On January 24th, Border Patrol shot and killed another ICU nurse named Alex Preddy in the Twin Cities. Although Trump and his administration claimed that Alex was carrying a gun and behaved violently, prompting the federal agent to open fire, none of the bystanders' videos matched that reasoning. Since the killing of Renee Good, America has witnessed several protests against ICE agents and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Shaken by the massive uproar against ICE and DHS, the U.S. president felt the need to reshuffle leadership. In a major development, he removed Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino from Minnesota and sent his trusted tough guy, border czar, Tom Homan, to oversee ICE operations. But why did Trump suddenly feel the need for a shakeup? Has he lost faith in his Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem? Whatever his answer, all developments point toward Noem's exit.
Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom Homan?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here, these are a lot of owners of farms and places, and you shake up your team if they can't do the crops fast enough. Look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border, and in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border, right? Nobody. They say nobody. I don't even know if that's possible. You know, it's Democrats who do the report. It's a very liberal group that does that report. It's a very important report. And for 9 months, I guess 8 months, 9 months, we have nobody coming into our country unless they come in legally. We want them to come in legally. You need people to work for you. But we did something that I would say people thought that was absolutely impossible, and we were able to do it. So we're very honored by what's happened to our country. We talk about Minnesota, but in Minnesota, you probably read, their crime is way down. You know why? Because we took out thousands of criminals out of Minnesota, and that's why it's good. So anyway, but we have Tom Homan is over there. We all love Tom. Yeah. And he met with the governor, met with the mayor. He's going to meet with the mayor, I guess, and it's going very well. But remember this, even Minnesota, their crime is down. And you know why it's down? Because of what we did. We took out thousands of criminals, career criminals, bad criminals, people that came in from Venezuela.
Earlier, President Trump had defended Noem and dismissed her removal with a straightforward no.
Is Kristi Noem going to step down?
No.
Are you happy with Kristi Noem right now?
I am, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget, we had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them were murderers. Many were drug dealers, drug addicts. people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history.
However, amid the chaos created by DHS, Border Patrol, and ICE in the name of an immigration crackdown, Trump told Fox News that he would de-escalate the situation in Minnesota and accused Bovino of not handling the state effectively.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit, but I will tell you, if you look at the numbers, Minnesota is doing better than they've done in many years. You know, Bovino is very good, but he's pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here, but you have to understand, when I watched some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists, these are paid agitators. These people aren't normal, like OG, that, you know, they're incensed about anything.
Top House Democrats, joined by Republican senators, blasted Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem over controversial DHS actions and demanded her removal, threatening impeachment if she isn't fired. They said her handling of the Minnesota incidents is disqualifying and that she should no longer hold her post. Kristi Noem's aggressive comments after the Minneapolis shootings, including calling Alex Pretty's actions an attack, violent behavior towards agents, and labeling the events surrounding Renee Good's death as domestic terrorism, were widely contradicted by accounts on the ground. In addition, her close alliance with Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino, who was removed from Minnesota, has left her politically isolated on Capitol Hill.
Individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen. Our law enforcement are doing everything that they can to protect the public. We're praying for this deceased loved one's family and friends, but we also recognize that the Minnesota governor and the Minneapolis mayor need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to evaluate their rhetoric, their conversations, and their encouragement of such violence against our citizens and our law enforcement officers. I'll remind you that Governor Walz today in his press conference said that our officers were not even law enforcement, which is a lie. He's called them the Gestapo. He's encouraged residents and citizens and violent rioters to resist. He's doxed their identities, putting themselves and their families' lives in jeopardy. He's refused to turn over murderers to federal law enforcement officers. He's protected illegal criminals and protected them from being brought to justice, and even overseen a historic, unprecedented theft of American taxpayer dollars. Tens of billions of dollars were stolen under his watch, and he allowed it to happen, and in some instances may have even facilitated it.